Thank you.
What makes the world go round? Snap. What a happy sound. Snap is the happiest sound I've found. But snap makes the world go round. Snap makes the world go round. Well, I say it's crackle, the crispy sound. You gotta have crackle or the clock's not wound. Crackle makes the world go round. I insist that pop's the sound. The best is missing as pops around. Pop makes the world go round. Pop makes the world go round. Pop makes the world go round.
And now, introducing your host with the most, Mr. Greg along with Rick Brusuelas and Dennis Michelson. Now, let's get to the show.
Welcome to Snap, Crackle, and Pop, the only podcast that I'm aware of started as an award-winning article and morphed into a podcast. Now, as you can see, if you look over to my right, there is a different Pop today, Mr. Professor John Bush, the fantasy professor filling in for our good friend Dennis this week. We'll get to that a little bit later. But first, let's get over to Mr. Rick Brusuelas. Snap!
Hey, everyone. Want to go through some of the injuries, but before we do that, I want to remind everyone that week 14, there's 4 teams on bye, and pretty decent ones, too. So the New England Patriots, New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers, Carolina Panthers. So if you have been starting Drake May or Jackson Dart, Brock Purdy, Bryce Young, Trevian Henderson, Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard, or Rico Dowdell, Ted McMillan, Stephon Diggs, Juan Jennings, George Kittle, they're not going to be available to you this week. So you've got to make other plans. So let's get into the injuries. Well, the biggest injury, Justin Herbert, Los Angeles Charger quarterback, suffered a broken bone in the back of his non-throwing hand during the 31-14 win over the Raiders. Had surgery already on Monday. It's unknown whether he'll miss any games, though, and he's listed as day-to-day. His backup is Trey Lance, who had a 1-for-1 for 9 yards in a real brief appearance last week. They're playing against Philadelphia on Monday Night Football, so he gets an extra day to recover. We'll have to keep tuned. Aaron Rodgers, the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, also suffered a fractured left wrist on his non-throwing hand in the previous week's game. And then this past game, he had a gash on his nose in an ugly play where he coughed up the ball and had a fumble, which was returned for a touchdown. Rodgers said after the game he hopes it's not broken. Backup Mason Rudolph took over, immediately threw an interception in the very next drive, went 0 for 3. If Rodgers isn't able to play, and I know that the folks in Pittsburgh aren't happy with Mason Rudolph, some talk even about handing the reins over to rookie quarterback Will Howard. So, again, keep your eyes on that situation. Aaron Jones had a shoulder injury. It says it's not serious, and he's day-to-day. If Jones is out, Jordan Mason will again be the primary running back, with Xavier Scott also getting carries. Dylan Sampson from the Cleveland Browns suffered a calf injury. He's considered day-to-day. Quinshon Judkins will still be the bell cow for the Browns, and if Sampson isn't able to play, Jerome Ford will fill in. Bam Knight had a possible knee injury after having a fairly decent game of 62 yards rushing and a total of 92 total yards and a touchdown. If we're going to have to watch practice reports and for any team announcement, Michael Carter would be one of the primary backups. Folks are also looking to see if maybe Trey Benson comes back for week 14. The big news on the wide receiver front, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Detroit Lions star wide receiver, suffered an ankle injury, didn't practice the last 2 days. If he isn't able to play, Isaac Tesla is an interesting free agent target. Khalif Raymond is also out, so Tom Kennedy will also be an interesting free agent pickup. He also does kick returns, so if your league does provide for kick return yards, he becomes even more interesting. Marvin Harrison, the Arizona Cardinals wide receiver, suffered a heel injury. He also has been out for a while with an appendectomy. And if he is going to miss more time, Michael Wilson has been a very hot wide receiver for the Cardinals. Greg Dortch would also be a target, but Trey McBride, their tight end, is their number one receiver. Parker Washington, the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver, suffered a hip injury and had to leave the game. It's a mess out in Jacksonville. Brian Thomas Jr. should see a ramp up of work, but Tim Patrick would be the wide receiver replacing Washington, and Jacoby Myers would continue to be a primary target there. Xavier Restrepo, the Tennessee Titans wide receiver, was carted off the field with an ankle injury. He minimal impact on the Titans, and they're just, not someone you're going to be targeting anyway. But Io Manor, DK, and Van Jefferson will be their primary wide receivers. And the last wide receiver injury, Dante Thornton, Los Angeles Raiders wide receiver, suffered a concussion. After a surprising start to the season, he's pretty much been an afterthought in the Raiders offense, but his absence should open up a few more opportunities for fellow rookie Jack Besh. Alex Bachman would also see additional use. Tyler Lockett, of course, will see additional use, but much like with the Cardinals, their primary or their number one receiver is Brock Bowers. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Greg for his Crackle bit.
Thank you. I'm calling this the I Hate the Bears episode because I'm hitting the Bears hard this week. I'm starting off at quarterback. Quarterback number 8, Caleb Williams, is traveling to Lambeau Field to the frozen tundra to play a Packers team that is pretty good. They're only giving up about 14.7 points per game to opposing quarterbacks, and only 10.66 since week 9. Williams does have upside because of his rushing ability, but in his last 4 games, only one has been worthwhile. So while they're not expecting rain or snow, they're expecting extremely cold conditions in Green Bay for this game. Sit Caleb this week. At running back, another Bear, DeAndre Swift, who I don't like anyway from his days in Detroit. I think the guy is soft. I don't know. He's going into the game with a questionable tag, and he's had hamstring and quad issues. But unlike most NFL running backs, when he's questionable, he really is questionable. Generally, in the NFL, if you're questionable, you're going to play 70% of the time. That's not true for DeAndre Swift. He's more 50-50. So he may not even play this week, which would just give more of the load to fellow running back Kyle Manange. Anyway, I like the way Kyle plays. He runs hard. I like this kid a lot. And I think the game script against Green Bay may favor his style of running over the quickness and explosiveness of a DeAndre Swift. At wide receiver, my third Bear. I'm sitting wide receiver number 23, Mr. Rome Odunze. Again at Green Bay. He's had less than 9 PPR points in 4 out of his last 5 games. All right, including the last 3 straight. If his quarterback struggles, I suspect he will as well. But I think the better target, if you're going to play a Green Bay wide receiver, is Luther Burden out of the slot. He's going to get the shorter targets, and I just think that that'll be more the game plan. And Burton has been seeing an increased role with the team in the last couple of weeks. So I'm sitting Odunze. So that's Williams, Swift, and Odunze. I'm recommending you sit all 3 of them. Let's go to a different team. I absolutely hate doing the same guy 2 weeks in a row. But last week I went with Dallas Goedert, and he was a good call. I hit on 4 out of 5 last week. So be aware of that. I'm back after that one bad week, I'm back in the saddle again, baby. And Goddard's been struggling mightily, not just a little bit. AJ Brown's become the focus of this passing game. And Goddard's just like an afterthought at best, okay? He's had subpar performances in 5 of his last 6 games and had less than 5 points in 3 straight. You're not starting a tight end that gets less than 5 points, and that's what he's done 3 weeks in a row. So he's going up against the Chargers defense, who's given up just 5.8 points per game to starting tight ends opposing them. So he's not a guy that I want to start. Now, the next guy, my bonus pick, it tears at my heartstrings because I love this guy for a multiple of reasons. He's a personal favorite. Wide receiver Keenan Allen is currently the 22nd ranked wide receiver in a very crowded wide receiver room for, I keep wanting to say San Diego, but the Los Angeles Chargers. He's had 5 or 6 targets in each of his last 5 games. That gives him a decent floor, all right? But he's averaged 9.4 points per game in those 5 games, and that's just not good enough. He's only had a top 24 performance in 1 game since week 4. That's just not good enough. So when you consider his starting quarterback also had a broken bone and surgery on Monday, I just think the risk is too high to start him. So now we're going to the smarter and better looking Pop for today's sleepers.
Okay, let's get this going here. I'm taking the original Pop, Dennis Michelson's place. He did send in his picks. Lamar Jackson is his first sleeper. Thinks he's going to unshake his bad luck, and Pittsburgh's given up about 19 fantasy points. Never had 4 bad games. My pick, okay, so they didn't know I was going to pick. J.J. McCarthy, if he plays at Minnesota, easy defense against position landscape, and there is a prediction from me that passing versus rushing will be higher in Minnesota this week, given the situation. Dennis and I both agree on the running back, Neal out of New Orleans. He's going to pick it up. He got volume last week. Didn't get what we needed, but, don't know if Kamara's even coming back. He's questionable. I don't know why they would bring Kamara back. I am a Saints fan, by the way. You can see Saints. Don't bring Kamara back, okay? Just let's ride it out with Neal. And again, I like a Neal. Nice defense against position. And New Orleans is predicted to have a nice rushing attempts this week versus their usual rushing attempts. So they're going to have elevated rushing attack. Neal fits the bill there. Dennis thinks CeeDee Lamb, even though he's, I think, outside the 24, is 26, but 9 in fantasy points earned. But Dennis thinks he's a sleeper. I was going to be a little bit more aggressive and think Addison in Minnesota. He's up, down, back, forward. Don't know where he's at. Well, I'm thinking this is a forward. Got to play him weak. Nice defense against position. Minnesota this week figures to have a high passing versus rushing ratio. So if that is true, and that's the general scenario, Addison may slip out there and grab a ball or two and slip in the end zone and help your team out. It is time. If you drafted Addison like I did, it's time. Okay. We're tired of fooling around, Addison. We needs the points. Come do it. I think Buffalo's tight ends, if Kincaid's back, you play him. If Knox is back, I think you bet him in Vegas and pray for a stumble in the end zone here. So I do like that. I think Dennis, was
Which
Mark
one is he?
Andrews.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you can only pick one. You can't have two of them. It's got to be Knox or Kincaid.
Okay. If Kincaid plays him, but Dennis picked Andrews. It's like everybody, it's vanilla. I'm trying to be a little more aggressive. Dennis's bonus is Jameson Williams. Dennis, come on, man. I like Cody Parkinson in the Rams. I think there's some meat on that bone still for a tight end. I play in a tight end premium, so let's go out there and grab that as our bonus, a treat this week. And this is the substitute pops here, flapping my chops and giving y'all some help, I hope.
Well, Professor, I want to thank you greatly for stepping up for Dennis.
Trying to
We
elevate
will track. Well, we track our corrects and our misses, and I'm ahead of Dennis, so he's going for some of the low-hanging fruit. I'm kind of surprised he didn't go for Rasheed Rice. As
that's
his bonus
too obvious
pick.
for me. Dennis,
Well,
he's weak sauce.
kind
Come
of
on,
agree.
Dennis.
I kind of agree, but I think the Jameson Williams one is a good call. He hasn't had 2 good games in a row, and there's a possibility that Amon-Ra does play this week, but missing 2 practices, probably not. But that's it for our Snap, Crackle, and Pop. But we got to give the professor a chance to talk about what he's doing over at the Sports Affiliation. What are you guys doing over there?
Okay, so Dennis and I do our matchup lab. We look at the highs and lows of the week. We take the top 2 predicted games, predicted over-under from Vegas, and give you all the goodies that's there. And again, with a high over-under, there's going to be a lot of goodies for you to collect on. And we try to help you and point you to cherry pick those sweet treats that you can add in your lineup. And on the opposite or the worst 2 predicted games, these are the annoying games. It's like, do you want to play anybody? And so we really try to urge you to ease off some of your enthusiasm about some of those low defensive shootout games. So we try to put those extremes in perspective for betting, for daily fantasy, and just your lineups. And you can hear more, Dennis and I, but check out the TSA Matchup Lab. And we will morph into, since maybe my only time here, to the data lab off season, where I will be dealing, and Dennis will, our special secret stuff research that will light your draft up in the next season. So come on back and follow us and become our friend.
Give us a little more information on the week 14. Who are the 2 high-scoring games you went from? That's where you want to pick your cherries. And who are the 2 low-scoring games that you're avoiding?
Okay, so I'm looking at Vegas. We're talking Detroit and Dallas, 54 over under, Buffalo, Cincinnati, 52. That seems like points galore even with the sun god out, I'm reaching in there and grabbing everybody I can from a lot of that. And notice I picked I think Kincaid there, Buffalo could collect, Cincinnati, Chase Brown, come on, man, CeeDee Lamb, Detroit Gibbs, come in. Even Monty going to get you an extra treat or two for Detroit. You'll want that. The worst of the worst is Cleveland, Tennessee, 34 points. 30. Greg, you and I could go out there and fight and get at least 30. Come on. That's one of the lowest of the season. I don't even know if we've had one lower, maybe, but that's just weak sauce there. There's a tie on the next. I'm going to call Denver, Vegas, because the spread is like about 7.5. It's like, is Vegas even playing? But believe it or not, Geno has a chance to do more than you think. I'm not playing him, but there's some good stuff there. Denver, I think, is going to run with Harvey. I'm going to debate Sutton because I think there's going to be a lot of running through Harvey, and I'm not sure Denver's going to need a lot to beat Vegas, but just be aware.
Pat Bryant got a lot of good looks this last week, more than Troy Franklin, which surprised me.
Yeah. I thought Franklin had, moved ahead of Sutton, but I don't know what's going on over there. Their coach is a little tricky.
1 week. Yeah, it's just 1 week. Anyway, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please give us a like, a subscribe, and check us out next Tuesday.
See ya.